Hi, I'm Norm. Thanks all for coming. This is a much bigger turnout than what I was expecting, that's for sure. But I feel a little bit on the show because I'm sure a lot of people in this room could give the presentation I'm about to give. So I guess I'm a bit nervous about it. But thanks all for coming and for this opportunity. So I guess we're all here to learn about Joomla and maybe find out a bit more about it. And I'm sure there's lots of you here that have already used it and perhaps developing with it at the moment. And I found Joomla one time. I've been designing and making websites for some time, and even dabbled a little bit with my own sort of, if you could call it a CMS. It wasn't really, but it gave the user the ability to update their own pages. And I was searching for one, and hey presto, found Mambo, found Joomla, and really now, Joomla is it's how I develop all my sites. I don't even begin to start a site unless I've got a Joomla installation in front of me. I run my own IT company and with Nerds on Site, and if you'd like to talk more about that later, I'd be happy to. But my specialty is in websites. I love being able to bring good quality sites to clients, and it's because of Joomla that I'm able to do that. So, what I'm going to present to you is not quite a dummy's guide, because really I'm not going to show you everything. There's plenty of other people who can do that, far more qualified than I am. What I'm going to show you is essentially perhaps why you should be thinking about using Joomla, and really how the basics of getting started. There's many different ways you can do it, and bear with me as I go along with mine. So why do we even need Joomla? Well, Joomla is database driven. Now, in my opinion, content really is the number one thing you should be thinking about in all websites, and because it's database driven, it enables you to store and organise your content in a far more productive manner. And I don't know about you, if I had to sit down and create a CMS, PHP driven CMS with a database in the background, I'm sure I'd be there a long time. So if you want to go do that yourself, all power to you. But for me, I'd rather use someone else's technology that they've created ahead of time. I'm happy with the other one. It's up to you. We can all see the screen? Okay. Good. Okay, and it allows fast design. One of the things I try and pride myself with my clients is, I want to come up and running. When someone's got an idea, they want a website, they don't want to have 6-month lead times. They want to get the website up. They've already committed, they've gone to their leadership group in the business, and they've waved the flag, we need a good website, I don't want to leave them out hanging too long. So Joomla enables me to get them up and running really, really quick. Again, because a lot of stuff is already done for me. It enables for modular design. By that I mean, we're not talking about static pages, we're not talking about lines of code, we're talking about, I like to think of a Joomla page as being big chunks of code, and that I can move around where I want them to. Maybe I want the little rotating thing I've got over here, maybe I want it down here now, and it enables me to do that by turning things on and off. Because it's database driven, all that's really easy for me to do. It's not me sitting there with code in front of me having to rearrange it all the time. It also enables the client to maintain their own website. When I first started in IT, a statement like that would have got me shot down. What? You want to let the client touch the website? Why? That's crazy stuff. But I always encourage my clients, if they want to improve their Google ranking, give yourself more content. Google is what it is because they took all the smoke and mirrors out. The only true way to good Google ranking is through good content. So if you give your client, or if it's your site, the power to add more content on a more regular basis in an easy fashion, Google thinks that's good form. Or at least that's the way I see it. I'm sure Google experts tell us more involved reasoning behind that, but that's essentially what it is. So with a Joomla database-driven website, you can give your client the ability to add lots of content in a really easy fashion. If you've already done it yourself, you'll know what I mean. And either from the front end or the back end, which we'll see a little bit later on. But it really is, I can't stress that enough, that is a real big thing. You know, even my sites that and the clients that there's a lot of, oh, I don't want to do that, you know, when you actually show them how easy it can be, even if it's a simple price page, for example, something like that, but even if it's one page that they want to update, the moment you show them just how easy that can be, or staff in your business, if that's what you're here for, the moment you show them just how easy that can be, bingo, that's where a CMS is really coming into its own, particularly. And professional design. And I'll put there sometimes. You know, with the open source community, which is awesome, I love it. My business, we're a massive fan of open source for a number of different reasons. But in open source community, it's open source. Anyone can contribute, right? And you know, sometimes you get some interesting design. But for a lot of the stuff, you can get some awesome design that if you're not a designer, or if you'd rather concentrate more on the management of the site, then you don't need to worry about it. But you can still, and that's me. You know, I'm one of those people. Sure, I've been doing it a long time, but I was saying this to someone before. I know my limitations. You know, I don't try and do everything. If I can see where something else has been done and it's better than what I can do, why do I want to try and reinvent the wheel? You know, and you know, this is where with professional design, this is where some of the other opportunities for open source businesses to make revenue. You know, I'm an entrepreneur. I'm certainly not one of those people that says, no one's allowed to make money out of open source. It's not what I'm about. If people have got good ideas and the ability to create add-ons to the open source project that is Joomla, then all power to it. You know, I think that's great. And there's some awesome template manufacturers out there that I use. You know, I subscribe and pay my subscriptions to two of them, in fact. And I use their templates because they've got people working away at those templates far more creative and clever than I will ever be, and I'm allowed to use their stuff. That's just really nice. I love it. Scalability. So, you know, the MySQL database in the background, it's capable of lots of stuff. You know, if we sit down and create let's just throw a figure, 20-page Joomla website, what we're using in terms of percentage of what the MySQL database is capable of behind it is a fraction, tiny little fraction. So as your Joomla site grows, and of course that's where hosting comes in as well, but as your Joomla site grows, because you've got such an awesome back end behind it that you haven't had to do anything about, that's just there waiting for you to use it, then that lets your website grow beyond its limits. And it's open source. And who loves open source? I love open source. The business that I help run, those on site, we love open source for so many different reasons. I was saying about this when I first got to talking about it. You know, a lot of my clients are small clients, and they have to be budget conscious. In fact, even big businesses need to be. And if they don't need to pay for stuff, then that's a great plus. Then on the flip of that, if the open source solution is better than the commercial one, how good is that? If the open source one is more supported, how good is that? And that's certainly what I find. You know, with how many people here have used a Joomla-based forum? Yeah, heaps. And how often have you found the answer you need there? How often have you got an answer from Brad Baker there? You know, that's how often has Brad Baker edited your post?
Have you qualified? How often have you found a useful post?
You know, how often, when would you see that from I won't use names, a commercial forum? You know, often, if you go to into other commercial forums or commercial software, often you wouldn't get that same level of support. You know, someone said to me recently, oh, you know, open source, it's so cottage, it's so nice. Well, maybe it is, but it's still extremely serious. You know, and that's, I guess I love that about open source. You know, and I should qualify that my background in IT, one of my first big jobs, and I was in it for about 7 years, was with a large company that was completely Microsoft centric. And big budget, and we never worried about licensing costs. It was just never even spoken about. It was just Microsoft, that was it. And when I came out and went into my own business, I just expected everyone had that. You know? And when I got to the commercial realities of people not being able to afford it or want to afford it, I had to learn all about open source. And I was very resistant to it when I first got it. But then I was soon turned right around, and it's a good thing. It's a real good thing. And the logo looks kind of cute too. Everyone thinks that's nice. Can I explain the logo? I know the little story, but it's all people working together, the African thing.
The concept was people working together, and the slogan was all together. So yeah, it was based upon that. And from a designer's point of view, using those primary colours fits in well on most. Fits in well with another.
Just have to work out on a map how to go to the next slide. Didn't go
Use
to
the
the
arrow
slide,
keys.
it's just with, well, anyway, I'll do it now. There you go. So, what do you need to do a Joomla website? Essentially, you'll need Linux websites. I know people are going to say, no, you don't, but essentially you will. Essentially, you need more or less what's called a LAMP stack, or something that's capable of hosting a MySQL database and delivering PHP web pages. You'll soon know if it's not capable of doing it, because you'll get all sorts of interesting results. You can also, and I'm a big fan of this, I'm a big fan of using testing boxes, and I use my laptop as a testing box too. It's a really good tool to take the clients and show them right in front of them. There's lots of them out there, and what I'm talking about is a way in which to turn your own laptop, whether be it Windows or Mac or Linux or whatever, into a little mini web server. The one that I personally use, and I'm not sure if I've got it written there, so I'll say is WAMP. And it's just a nice little cool tool that's it's open source as well. I know it's free, I'm not sure if it's open source, but so it allows you to establish a Joomla website on your own testing box, or any testing box is what you need. In my opinion, I think you'll need some level of comfort with some coding. You don't need to be a coder. You don't need to understand how to write the code, but I think it certainly helps to not be scared of looking at code. At least that's how I find it. Anyway. And certainly, I teach Joomla in another arena, and I find that the people that have at least a level of comfort with looking at the code, they'll certainly pick it up a lot quicker. So I qualify. You don't need it, but it certainly doesn't hurt. And you need a willing attitude to learn. Yeah, I guess I find that a lot when I teach people Joomla and teach people anything. Is you don't have a willing attitude, you're not going to really go far. It certainly helps to have some level of comfort with graphic editing. That's a big thing. Who's ever been to a website and it loads and you see oversized images slowly rolling into the page? Who's ever been to that? That's what I'm talking about. A little bit of a comfort level of knowing that, okay, well, maybe that image doesn't need to be 3,000 pixels wide reduced. Maybe it needs to be actually resized. So little things like that, it'll certainly help you along the way. Mind you, there's some fantastically clever things that are happening in template design. I know there's some templates already where the logo is created by just typing. It just blows my mind. I don't even get it. It's just, wow. It's awesome. So why I use Joomla? Well, it's pretty simple. The answer is, it makes me look really, really good. To my clients. My clients see their website and they just go, wow. Simple as that. That's why I use it. It makes me look so good that I can produce more and more websites and therefore make more and more people happy. That's a good thing. I use it because it has the ability to produce those websites in short time frames as well. I can remember doing HTML, standard HTML pages and PHP pages, and extending timelines, extending them. Whereas now I can say to a client, okay, once I have the content, here's your timeline. I know I'm going to be able to get it. These are my opinions. Static sites are old school. They're not friendly. They're not easy to update. They don't. They're a little bit redundant. They don't have the ability to link in and update themselves. Dynamic sites, in my opinion, just simply make more sense. Just make more sense. I had a client recently who really, you know, I often relay this, and I don't use names, but I had a client recently who had a website, started their business, got me in for some other stuff, and had already had their website already done, and they paid a significant amount of money to have it done by a big sort of a place. And it was clear to me and to her, the client, that a newish developer, I'm not saying anything bad against this person, but a newish developer had designed the site. Everything was static. Not only that, every page was its own header. So on every single page, the header buttons were right on top of the page. So in order to change everything, you had 15 pages to change. It just makes no sense. Dynamic pages, eliminate. Dynamic pages make it easy for you.
So are they static pages inside Joomla, or are they?
I'm sorry, I'm referring to a non-Joomla site. I'm referring to static HTML. You know, one page called index.html links to the other page called aboutus.html. That type of thing. No CSS. All the formatting done on every tag. You know, each tag contains font equals this and that. And that.
So what about static pages inside Joomla?
We'll get to that.
Okay.
Totally different. It is lots of good. I even have that, I think. And this is another good thing for me. I was saying this to someone just earlier. Yeah, that right now, while I'm sitting here, right now, this instant, someone's working on the Joomla project right now. And that's awesome for me, because that means that right now there's new features being developed for Joomla now that I can implement to my clients next month or whenever they're ready. Now that is just, you can't get that from, it might be your own coding, for example, or you know, just using original techniques. Sure, there's other, I'm not saying Joomla is the only thing that does this, but that's what I love about the open source community, that's what I love about projects such as Joomla, is that right now people are developing for me to make me look better. And you know, there's times when I sit at bed and I have I contributed enough to the Joomla project this week. You know, I try and get on each file I can, try and contribute as much as I can, because I take so much from it. I want to, and you know, even like today, that's why I'm here with bells on. So that's a great thing. Yeah, and again, if this isn't, you know, if you're here for a business, don't think that it just applies to the, you know, to the way I use it. If you're here about to develop a Joomla website for your business or for your company or whatever, it's the same thing. People are going to be contributing to your project even whilst you're sleeping. That's got to be good.
Good question. Are there any risks that you guys will be stopped at any stage? Will it focus on one more thing? And so it will not the same happen again and it just stops at some stage? Something else happens?
Okay, I'll answer my opinion first, just my opinion, and then maybe someone wants to contribute. But, you know, I think Joomla's got so much support now. You know, there's a person here from Google. Hello. It's so stable now. It's just gone into another whole nother level in terms of 1.5. There are so many websites out there that use Joomla. You do a Google search for Joomla, you look at the number that comes up. It's awesome. I can't see. I could be wrong. I can't see how that's going to happen personally.
The flip side is if you get a proprietary company that has their software bought out by another competitor, then the development path ends there.
That's exactly right. That's a good point.
It's 50.7 million, by the way.
I think. I can't see your name.
Dimitri.
Dimitri's got a very good point. It's a very good point that, you know, there's no reason why that can't happen in the commercial world. Absolutely.
This happens all the time. Not only does it happen all the time, you have the downside of if you want to move from that company, you have, well, yes, you can move from us, and we will give you your data. And that'll be, well, let's say, $200 an hour to get your data out of our system. Say Joomla dies tomorrow. You have all of the code, you have all of the information, you have all of the documentation. Sure, we might talk. Membo still exists for those who have lots of time on their hands to do nothing. We've done a lot of work with it, but both projects are still alive. You know. Even if Joomla forks again, and that's really not going to happen for another decade or so, it's really painful. If you still have everything there, your site will still run, and you've got all of that there. You know, you could pay Microsoft, and I've heard of Microsoft extorting $150 to get a patch to fix an Exchange system that is dead now. So, yes, no, maybe. There are some benefits, but I think the fact that Joomla being open source and being available to you is a lot better than, you know, SharePoint.
Yeah. I often say to my clients, you know, the reason I'm using open source, if I fall off the face of the earth tomorrow, the code that I've used is all standardized. Someone else can come in. It's okay. I haven't written any secret code that only I know. Anyone happen that? Anyone have that happen? Let's move along. Templates. A little bit more about templates. So we have templates. Templates is how the overall look and feel of the site happens. We have content that you add, sections and categories. I've already had someone today ask me about that. It's one of the most commonly, I guess, confused part of Joomla, which I'll explain just a sec. Static documents, modules and components we'll go into. So let's just talk really quickly about templates. You know, templates, if you're a designer, that's great because Joomla has provided you already with a set of rules and some recipes on here's how you should design a template for Joomla. Already given you the rules for it. And if you're a good designer, you can follow those rules. Hey presto, you're designing web templates. Good for you. I've tried it. I did okay. But I think I'll leave it at that. I'm not a designer. If you can design your own, that's fantastic. If you're not, then use a template like me. I often start with a template and work from there. So long as you've got some good understanding of style sheets and some PHP code, no reason why you can't pull it apart and change where you need it. If you're kind of a designer, then that's sort of me, kind of. Then, as I said, you can use a template as a base. Templates enable you and me to achieve really professional looking sites. Often, when I show my clients the initial brief, I'll often show them maybe 3 different designs. And for them, they're like, wow, damn, those 3 designs just for me? Like within a week? Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's key. Joomla allows you to load heaps and heaps of content and organise it into logical groups. I'll just skip to this section here because I think it explains it. This was explained to me this way. Sections and categories is often misunderstood. Think of it like a newspaper. Think of it like the sports section and then the categories within the sports section. And then the business section and the categories within the business section. That's how sections and categories work. Okay? Sometimes I explain to people like categories and subcategories, which kind of makes sense as well. But if you think about a newspaper, that's how sections and categories work. There we go, categories and subcategories. Okay, static documents, just simply a one document that doesn't link to another group. Okay, so like the About Us page, a map page, maybe disclaimers, etc. That type of thing. Modules and components allows you to add more features, more functionality to your website just by simply installing. Download the module and component, upload it into Joomla, hey presto, you're using it. Develop nothing. Is that right? Yeah, and probably 24 now. Now we just said that. Okay, so I'll just summarise here, then we'll go into the installation. Joomla is how sites should be created, in my opinion. They should be, you should separate the design from the content. That's how it should be. It should be modulated. It should be fast design. And it's not only best for you, as I've said a number of times already, it's best for your clients or if you are your client. And if you've got coding skills, why not try and contribute to it? It's a good project to contribute to. Just briefly, Nerds on Site are a group of IT professionals. Want to know more about us, come and speak to me later. And I'm happy to help with Joomla, and my email address is there, normnerdsonsite.com.au. So, we'll go into a really fast install of Joomla. We can do it really fast because there's something called Fantastico. People heard of Fantastico?
Just click continue, it's just
I'm sorry. Sorry, this whole Mac thing gets me. So if you're a
So I didn't see what you typed there.
so if you're a cPanel user, anyone? Fantastico, what a great thing. It's just fantastic. Most Fantastico installations, one thing I will really quickly say is just also know that just because a host has Fantastico there doesn't mean it's the latest version of Joomla. It's something you might want to be aware of. Always states it there, and in fact,
Can I just make a comment about that?
please do.
The reason why Fantastico haven't put 0.4 on there is because we released it as an RC.
I see.
And 1.5 they promise will be coming shortly.
Yep.
The push with them is to have in Fantastico 1.0 and 1.5. But that's really their decision to come from.
I understand. Yep. So often, if you have a cPanel type of hosting environment, you'll have Fantastico, and there's a whole bunch of things you can install. It's a simple matter of clicking New Install. You're going to answer a few questions. If you wanted to install it in a subdirectory, no, if it's just a root directory, going to be your main site, then just leave that blank. Put in your username, what's going to be a username, a password, a email address, and a site name. And then we click Install Joomla. It will make sure that everything's going to be okay for that, first of all, so it knows that it's able to create a database. Finish installation, and what it's doing right now, it's copying some it's copying files, it's created the database for you, and so now if we go and Option T, thank you, and we go and hit that, we should have a Joomla website. How quick is that? Fantastico just enables that to be so massively fast. On the flip of that, we don't have time to show, but on the flip of that, it's a matter of uploading the files and going through the information process yourself. Very, very similar. Same questions you're answering, and all you're doing is creating the database yourself sometimes. Depending on the rights the cPanel gives you, sometimes you just have to create the database yourself, which cPanel does by a wizard anyway. Next. I'll have a database, please. Here's the username I'd like to use, the password. You put those details in, away we go. Will we install one template? Yep. So we go into the administrator panel of Joomla, which is just /administrator, if you're doing being there, and put in username and password. And then to install a template, we just simply tell it where the template is. So we've downloaded one before time. You can press that anyway. Click on upload. Then we go back to the template section. And we choose the new one we've just installed, make that the default. And then we go and hit the website again. And all going well, hey presto, we've got a whole new template. How easy is that? You know, I won't go into it, but you can even do things like, you can say, well, okay, well, this bunch of pages, that has this template. This bunch of pages, that has this template. Obviously, you wouldn't want to make two templates too different, because that would really confuse your users. And that's it. Yep. Thanks very much.